Okay, so before we start, I want to recite a few verses of the glorious Quran, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. So what I just recited for you guys is the first chapter of the glorious Quran. I just recited it in Arabic, and now I'm going to recite it in English. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. All praise is for Allah, Lord of all worlds, the most compassionate, the most merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment. You alone we worship. You alone we ask for help. Guide us along the straight path, the path of those you have blessed, not those that you are displeased with or those who are astray. My brother, Satoyo Shooter.
Thank you, man.
Yes, sir, my brother.
What a fantastic way to start a podcast.
Yes, sir.
There's power there, man. Like, if something's been done for hundreds and hundreds of years by now billion plus people, you can't deny there's real power there. So thank you for bringing that to my home. And when I first saw you do that with the Three Muslims podcast, that's when I realized this guy's about it. Like, you're not doing this for clout. You're doing this for a higher purpose, dawah. And that's why we're sitting here today. Thank you for bringing that in my house, man. I love it.
Of course, my brother. Of course, anytime.
There was another moment when I realized you're about it. I think you know what I'm talking about, right? There's a certain video where a man's in his face and he insulted the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, and our man threw down. And look, of course, none of us advocate violence, but as per rules of engagement in the military or in life, if words don't work and you were trying to calm him down, trying to get him out of your face, he didn't. So you had to engage. You did it only to the point where you needed to essentially disable the threat, and then you stopped. That was the most beautifully righteous and ethical beatdown I've ever seen. At that moment, I was like, I want to work with this guy. This guy's about it. So
thank you, my brother. I appreciate that. And I'm pretty sure he won't mess with another Muslim again. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Man, he picked... If you're picking a 6'7", 300-pound Muslim to mess with, something not right up here.
Absolutely. But I think I probably fixed a few screws loose in his head. I probably put them back together, inshallah.
But you did it in a way that ultimately was very ethical, which I really respect.
I appreciate
Sometimes force is needed in this world, man. People who want to pretend that force isn't necessary, they're living in an ideological fantasy land. Sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's needed, and of course it must be used ethically. So props to you, brother.
My first question for you today, my brother, is tell me about your name, the Sartorial Shooter. How did you come up with your name? And please share with us a little bit about your origin story as well, my brother.
Okay, mate. So origin story, grew up very, very low class, low demographic, but always knew that I wanted more out of life. Even at an early age, I was angry at the fact that, for example, dinner was breakfast cereal. I was angry at the fact that money was always a stress in the house. So I made a commitment to be the guy who, even, I'd say like 5, 6, 7 years old, I was like, I'm not going to live like my parents. I'm going to create a different reality. Back then I didn't refer to it as a custom-made reality, but alhamdulillah, that's what I've created now. So that's the origin story there. Joined the military as soon as I could out of school. Started as a soldier. I've never been a gunhead. Weapons are tools for me. People often say, what's your favorite weapon? I don't care. Whatever is available in country X, I will use. But I do believe that a man should, and I mean, Islam agrees, a man should be able to protect his family, right? He should be strong. Absolutely. For me, it's very important that men know how to utilize firearms in a safe and effective manner. And so I take great satisfaction from training men how to do so. And so that's where the shooter piece comes from. Because I mean, I've been a security professional for the last 15 years. I've worked in pretty much every active war zone, at least in this region, over that time. So a lot of time in very volatile environments, and that's the shooter piece. I strongly believe all men should be able to, even if you're living in the West, you should know how to run a gun, shoot, move, communicate effectively, because things can go wrong. I've been in many societies where, I mean, you look at the Arab Spring, a lot of countries were quite law-abiding one day, and then the next day there were no police on the streets, and it became very violent. So I think men should know how to defend themselves and their family. And in terms of sartorial being all things related to fashion and style and tailoring, and as we discussed earlier, I was the poor kid in the second-hand clothing who really wanted to learn how to dress. I didn't have any class. I didn't have any role models. I didn't even know how to dress, but I just wanted to be that guy who learned how to do it, and I did so over the years. And again, I take a lot of satisfaction taking guys to the tailors. In the recent Warham event, took 30 men to the tailors, got them all decked out, feeling good. And even those guys who were already dressed well, we pushed it and took it to the next level. We got them to personalize their style even more. So yeah, the shooter piece because of my background, and the sartorial piece because of the style and the enjoyment of all things tailoring, it just seems like a natural fit.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. My next question, my brother, is, why did you choose Dubai? Out of all the countries in the world, what made you choose Dubai, my dear brother?
So back in army days, I learned the languages of this region, and I was studying this region from a distance. Obviously, when I got here, I realized that there were some misconceptions. But very quickly, I realized that this is the sort of country that has the belief systems that I align with. Even 15 years ago, as a non-Muslim, I felt more respect for the values of Islamic societies than I did for my own country. With all due respect to Australia, amazing place, I do not respect the values that it's built on at all.
Well, what values did you see in the Arab world that kind of enticed you to be more attracted to it?
So the idea of traditional values, traditional gender norms, that men should be strong, that women should be caring and giving and support the family unit. Now look, anyone can do whatever they want in this world, but what I've seen as to what works best for fulfillment, for raising healthy, happy kids, for a healthy, on-mission man, for a fulfilled and content and giving woman, traditional dynamics, traditional values is the answer, and that's what this region is about. It's under attack. The Netflix is here pushing its message, TikTok is here, but those societies that hold on to traditional values, traditionally, they need to be backed by faith, whether it's a strong Orthodox church in the Soviet world, or whether it's Islam here in the Muslim world. I see a real correlation between societies that I used to think that government and religion should be separate. I now realize they have to be. If you want a cohesive society or a functioning society, they have to be together. You want politicians to run a country without any accountability to faith? Man, that's dangerous. Because humans are going to do what humans do. They're going to pad their own pockets. Whereas if you have politicians or leaders who are accountable to a higher force, who believe in things like Judgment Day, you better believe they're going to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
And there are many examples, UAE being one of the best. What a fantastic example of the leaders really taking care of the people of society and making a safe, comfortable, business-friendly environment for us to live in. So to me, this society is one of the best in the world. The UAE, I genuinely believe it is the most livable country in the world for those reasons.
Absolutely. And there's something that happens to human beings once they know that they're being observed by their creator at all times. It doesn't matter if you go to the darkest cave on the bottom, of the earth, but you are aware that you are being watched by your creator, and every one of your actions are being held into account. And that does something to someone. It kind of makes them the best version of themselves.
100%. Every day, every action, they are being held to account. How is that not an incredibly positive thing? And the founder of atheism, or liberalism, this is from our Three Muslim podcast, he said, even the founder of liberalism said you can't trust people without some kind of religion because they don't hold themselves to account to a higher force. I'm probably ruining the quote, but words to that effect. If humans aren't held to some kind of higher accountability, then they're going to indulge in all sorts of unhealthy practices for themselves and for society, because Satan, the temptation is there. And I love how Islam conceptualizes these things. You have the Maliki, you have the angels, you have Shaitan, Satan, and every day is a battle, and you get to decide. Do you stay on the straight path and be a productive member of your family unit, taking care of yourself, contributing to society, or do you indulge in hedonism? Do you rip off your brother for that quick win money-wise? To me, a society that's not backed by faith, the bad side of humanity will come out. And man, we can see that in the West. We really can. And the world is starting to realize the West is genuinely becoming a broken society, a failed society, as our brothers Tate put it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so I'm tearing up.
Yeah.
I need probably some glasses or something like that.
Some sunnies. It is very bright.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me get you some sunglasses.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Okay, so you mentioned something, right? When someone is aware that there is a creator that's watching them, right? So for me, what it makes me think of right away is if a human being is not loyal to their own creator, the one that created them, the one that fashioned them, the one that gives them the eyes that they see with, the mouth that they talk with, the nose that they breathe with, and the ears that they hear with, if they're not grateful and loyal to their own creator that gave them every single thing they have, what makes you think they'll ever be loyal to you?
Ooh, I like that. Isn't that interesting? And that ties into a key. I mean, we all know that if you want to be fulfilled, you need to be grateful. Like basic psychology will say, practice daily gratitude if you want to feel fulfilled in your daily reality.
Yeah.
Islam, in a way, that happens organically. And nowadays, you have these modern psychologists saying, well, yeah, practice gratitude, these sorts of things. Islam wrote that 1400 years ago, the need to stay grateful and to stay grounded. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's very important, man.
Absolutely. I think there's a saying out there that being grateful and having gratitude leads to a great attitude.
Oh, there we go.
That's nice, huh? That's nice. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's funny, and I discussed this on the Three Muslim podcast. Every night when my kids are here, before we go to bed, they say three things they're grateful for. And it's such a routine now that they're like, oh, can I go first? Can I go first, Dad? And they'll say throughout the day the three things that they're grateful for. I then end by saying the three things I'm grateful for. I always start with I'm grateful for the health and fulfillment of my family. And when I'm in the masjid every day, that's one of the things that I say at the end of prayer. That idea of conceptualizing in your mind, wow, I've got a lot to be grateful for. One, it'll help you work harder to maintain that. And two, you won't waste your life. If you wake up every day, or you remind yourself, and that's why I do it with my kids, these young minds reminding themselves of how grateful they are, they're going to go out and enjoy life and get the most out of it because they realize they're blessed. Now, my kids don't really have a relationship with faith. Inshallah, when they grow up, they'll discover that themselves. But instilling the same values that come from Islam into young minds, even if it's not in the religious context, I think is very important. And I think the gratitude piece that you talked about is a real key component that every parent should look to instill in their child.
And big shout out to you, my brother, for instilling that in your children at such a young age.
Thank you, bro.
I think, more parents should look to that and try to teach their children values that will truly bring them, a source of peacefulness, right? That they could carry on to them and their future families in the future as well.
And just on that, I think that's a key point. I talk about fulfillment, I talk about contentment. That's what I'm looking to instill in my children and in the people in my orbit. Happiness comes and goes. If you're chasing happiness, you might as well go and take drugs because you feel happy. Long-term fulfillment, long-term contentment, I believe that should be the goal. And when we see Western society, everyone's chasing happiness, that's where hedonism comes in. Shaitan can give you happiness, but he can't give you long-term fulfillment or long-term contentment in your heart. So I think that's another important concept, and I've taught that to my kids as well.
Actually, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I believe most of the West is suffering today because they're always chasing happiness. And according to the Islamic tradition, we do not believe that true happiness could ever be felt in this world. This life is simply a test for human beings. If you don't mind, I could share with you a verse of the Quran that talks about that, my brother.
I love it.
Okay, beautiful. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. What I just recited for you is chapter 67 of the glorious Quran, right? Which is titled Surah Al-Mulk, which means all authority, right? In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Life is a test. Blessed is the one in whose hands rests all authority. And he is the most capable of everything. He is the one who created life and death in order to test which one of you are best in deeds. And he is the Almighty, the All-Forgiving. So the fact that you brought that up, that nowadays in the West, we're out here chasing happiness, but happiness doesn't exist in this life. True happiness and true peace and contentment you will only find that in the hereafter, and you will only find that in paradise.
I like it, man.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. And to me, you'll only find that genuinely if you have some kind of faith in your life. People who are chasing happiness in the West with no connection to the Creator, whatever they conceptualize that to be, they're missing a real channel towards fulfillment. And okay, dunya, attachments, and we can talk about this. Stuff won't give you real fulfillment. But if you're the sort of guy who's going to the masjid regularly and praying regularly, there's real fulfillment there. So I believe you can find fulfillment in this world. I don't want to speak against, obviously, anything that's taught, but it's through faith and it's through understanding the concepts that are in this book and in the religion of Islam or any of the religions of the old books. That to me is where you'll get some real fulfillment, not from what's pushed in the West. You know, superficial status or sex or drugs or possessions. Do you think the world is starting to realize that? Because I have to believe that people are starting to see through this clout chasing, material possession chasing nonsense and think, what's missing? What's next? And to me, that's where Islam comes in. That is what is missing from most people's lives in the West. They are missing a connection with God. They are missing faith.
Yeah, the fact that you just mentioned that, most people, they look up to these, celebrities, right? And they're looking at them as their role models, right? And these same celebrities that they look up to, these people happen to be the most depressed individuals.
And I've done bodyguard work for a bunch of celebrities. Obviously, I can't talk about that. I'm a professional. But they're not fulfilled people.
100%.
A lot of them have substance abuse issues. Their relationships are terrible. A lot of them don't have real brothers because they won't allow anyone to question them. They have that diva complex. Most actors and famous musicians, they're at such a level of diva complex that they're surrounded by yes men. One of the key things about our brotherhood is we will say, hey man, you're slipping on this, you need to change that. We'll give that masculine accountability. The celebrities of the world, they don't allow that. So they have very superficial existences, and that's why they turn to drugs and hedonism. To look at celebrities as role models, I don't understand that. I don't even understand why people look at sportsmen as role models. They're kicking a ball around. How is that impressive? I've never understood that. Whereas I look at someone like you you could be chasing the status, this and that. I mean, you're still doing well, alhamdulillah, business-wise, but your main thing in life is something bigger than you. You're giving back to society. To me, you're much more of a role model and much more of a healthy role model than any celebrity or any superstar out there, because you're doing something with purpose in your life that is about more than just you. I think that's what should be honored.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that. You mentioned something earlier that I want to touch on a little bit, right? Nowadays people out here are chasing happiness, right? But how can you be happy if the one that created you is not happy with you?
Interesting. Yeah,
right?
I like that.
It's something different to think about, right? And also, I believe the reason why these people out here are chasing these celebrities as role models, right, is because they lack role models in their own household.
Oh, wow. That makes sense, yeah. There's a real lack of masculine leadership in families today. And, I mean, that's why the West is falling down. If we talk about divorce rates and we talk about single-parent families and the fact that a lot of children aren't being raised well, to me, a lot of that's the men's fault. I really believe that.
I agree.
If you're a strong leader and a compassionate leader of your family unit, and you're committed to making it work, divorces shouldn't happen. First of all, you should know how to select a quality woman to come into your life and be. It's a very important decision. Who's going to father your? Who's going to be the mother for your children? But these things aren't even talked about in the West. Well, when was the last time anything in terms of Western, anything you see on social media or anything you see in Hollywood, where they're talking about the importance of a man choosing a healthy spouse mentally to come in, or this is why I like organized marriages, man, because they're based on what's practical. A relationship is a practical thing. Again, the West chasing happiness. You're going to choose who you marry and who you have kids with based on some feelings? Feelings come and go. You need to very practically assess, is what this person looking for and bringing to the table matching what I'm looking for and what I'm bringing to the table? If we practically fit, then love will come. But I don't think you should base it on emotions and love, because then you'll see things fall over. Relationships are deeply practical things. And again, this part of the world understands that. The West will criticize organized marriages, but they're the ones that work because it's based on a practical assessment of, are these two people a good fit for each other? Whereas in the West, go marry whoever you feel you should, whoever you have butterflies in the feeling, butterflies in the stomach. Butterflies come and go. Feelings come and go. I really think the way this part of the world looks at relationships, that they're practical, they must be healthy, they must work, then leads to healthy family units, then leads to a healthy society. And the West is the West is chasing feelings. I think it's a major problem because feelings change.
I agree. And I believe, when it comes to Islam, the thing about us, right? A Muslim is someone who willfully submits their will to the Almighty Creator, right? And as Muslims, we have guidance for our life. We have complete guidance for our life. It's up to us, either we want to follow that guidance or we don't want to follow that guidance. Talking about marriage, and obviously as Muslims, we have role models already in our life, right? Which are the prophets that were selected by the Almighty, most merciful Creator. These are the greatest role models that humankind has ever experienced.
There's your masculine leadership right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the best role models known to humankind is the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, which is known as the #1 most influential man, also the most common name in the world, as well as also Muhammad. And there's a reason behind that, right? And what he teaches us is there's certain things you should be looking for in your spouse, right? One of them is, the first and foremost, is make sure you have a spouse that fears her Creator. How is her relationship with her Creator? Because there's going to be many times where you're not around, right? And obviously as human beings, we're full of flaws.
Amazing. Just want to say, I'm having one of those moments again where something I believed is reflected in Islam. I didn't know that. Years ago, I realized that if you want a good wife, she needs to come from a religious family and she needs to have a relationship with her faith. And here we have it in Islam being written. I have that every day. Every time I'm reading, I'll read something that's within our faith, and I'll be like, oh, I figured that out years ago, by trial and error, usually, by mistakes. Here it is written. It's amazing how many lessons and how much guidance is in this book and in this faith that people just don't realize. So I figured that out 5 years ago after going through a very bad dynamic marriage-wise and a very messy divorce. If only I'd known that at the start. If only I'd read this book at the start, I could have avoided so many years of unhealthy relationships.
100%. But that's why this guidance is here for all of mankind, right? To read and to understand. And along with that, right, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he said to look for someone who is loyal to their Creator. They fear their Creator, because if they fear their Creator, then they won't do you wrong. They won't do your children wrong as well, right? And along with that, he said, make sure you find someone with a good family that comes from a good bloodline, right? They have good family values as well, So, you mentioned that, so I just wanted to share a little bit about the Islamic belief on that,
Some guidance for young men looking for a good relationship. Do it in the context of Islam, and you'll have a lot more fulfillment in your relationships than if you try and figure it out yourself. There's a whole body of knowledge, there's a system with which to approach life and relationships. Utilize it. Why try and do these things through trial and error? Trust me on that.
Absolutely. So, you've lived in Dubai for how many years now?
Well, when I moved to the Middle East, I was in Iran for 2.5 years. I was in Iraq for a good amount of time, Syria for a good amount of time as well. Saudi, also lived in Saudi for a good amount of time. Whereas Dubai straight, I'd say for the last 6-7 years, that with continual travel. Dubai has been a hub for travel for me. I typically spend more time before COVID at least, I'd spend more time on an aeroplane than I would in my actual office. So Dubai's been my home for 6-7 years, but constant travel throughout that period.
So did you have any preconceived notions about these Islamic countries before you entered them? Obviously, as an Australian male, what did you have any preconceived notions?
I think the main one was around, because Australia being a bit of a feminized society, the main one was around the hijab. And I viewed it as a suppression of women and that it was wrong. That was the main one. Whereas getting over here and talking to women who choose to wear the hijab and understanding the reason behind it, it's that they want to protect their dignity, men are men. You're not going to change men from being men. if a woman chooses to decrease the likelihood of men staring at her, I think it's a healthy decision. And so I've completely changed. I respect women who choose to wear the hijab, because to me it's just it's a way to look after themselves. Also energetically, you don't want men, strangers staring at you all the time. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've changed my perception on. I have huge respect for women who choose to wear the hijab, as opposed to before thinking, oh no, that's wrong and that's somehow suppression.
That's wonderful, wonderful. So, I think there's a saying out there, right? That people are scared of what they don't know. And a lot of times, there's a lot of things about Islam that they simply do not know. And unfortunately, the enemies of Islam are the ones who represent us instead of us representing ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big problem. I really, truly believe that's a big problem. And talking about the hijab, right, is, obviously you displayed to us, right, your beautiful watch collection, right? You didn't have it out in the open, right in the front of your yard, ready for everyone to take, right? You had it in an enclosed case, right, with a passcode, with a fingerprint, all that to get it open, right, because you value it, right? Right? Same thing as Muslims, we value our women. We value our wives. We value our mothers. So for us, we want to protect them.
I like it.
We're here to protect them and shield them from the evils of the world.
And that's, I think, a daily acknowledgement of the evils of the world is very important. I'm still learning how to pray, and I like how we say, help me resist or fight against shaitan. A Muslim says that every day as part of their prayer. You're reminding yourself continually that evils exist. In the West, I think they've forgotten that evils exist. And then they're surprised when bad things happen. Those evils are always there, whether you acknowledge them or not. I like that in this part of the world, we are conscious of the fact that evils do exist, and this is a bad place. There is a dark side to humanity, which will always be there, and we need to structure our lives accordingly.
Unfortunately, I think what it is that people in America, they are living in a certain bubble. And when they leave America and they see how America or the West is viewed by non-Western people, then they get a real glimpse of what's going on. Because how can you see what's going on until you look at it from the outside in? They're looking at it from the inside out. And that's why they don't get a good perspective. So I'm very happy that you're actually talking about these things to give them a different perspective. Because that's all we're here to do. Give them a different perspective. And as human beings, you guys choose what you believe is true and what you believe is false, right?
And tying into that, I think it's very funny when people who live in that first world Western bubble think they are somehow the morality police of the world, like we saw with the Qatar World Cup. If you're living in America or you're living in the UK in some little first world bubble, you don't understand the big wide world out there. How are you going to judge? How are you going to tell us how to live our lives? Those who aren't living in the first world. So I'm absolutely sick of people in the West somehow thinking they can pass judgment on people outside of the West countries and the way we live. I'm done with it. I really am. They don't fully understand the world. How do you think you're going to judge something you don't understand, or try and tell people outside of the West how to live? It's ridiculous.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there's another saying out there as well that, give me 10 geniuses, I'll argue with them. But give me one bumbling idiot, I'll never be able to destroy him in an argument. Because you can't argue with people who are ignorant. You simply cannot argue with people who are ignorant,
there
right?
It is, man. And the left, the liberals, they're based in emotions. You can't speak logic with these creatures. So
absolutely.
I was on Twitter for a while till my account got nuked, and I realized the liberal left, the haters out there, one, they're very unhappy people, and two, there's no point dialoguing with them because they're so driven by emotions and how things should be. They're very idealistic as opposed to realizing how things are. That I don't debate with feminists or leftists because I don't think they are rational actors with which you can have any sort of healthy debate. They're to your point, they're bumbling idiots.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, my brother. Touche. So I want to ask, what do you enjoy the most about the Arab world? And what other countries have you lived in besides in the Arab world?
Well, at the moment, because I'm getting so much energy from my learning about Islam, what I'm enjoying most is the fact that there's a masjid across the road.
Wonderful.
I'm buying some land in Turkey. One of my questions was, is there a masjid nearby? As someone who's still learning how to pray, I find it very useful to be doing it in the masjid around other people. So, yeah, at the moment, what I like most about the Arab world is that the faith is right here. As you said earlier, you say salam to somebody, they say it back. There's that brotherhood. That's what I value most in this part of the world. And that's why I don't see myself ever fully relocating out of this part of the world, because this is where this is where our faith lies. I think it's a very powerful thing. And now the call to prayer, it's a deeply beautiful thing. Before I was a bit intrigued by it, but now I feel it on a certain level. I wouldn't want to live in a country where I didn't hear that. So that's what I enjoy the most.
That's so beautiful to hear, my brother. That is so beautiful to hear, man. That's so beautiful to hear, my brother. So now let's talk a little bit about wealth. Let's talk about money. I know everyone loves money, right? So let's talk a little bit about money, right? Tell us about your journey of creating wealth. How did it begin?
Okay, so I've always been that guy from an early age who was hustling, always trying to do deals. Now, it didn't work for a while, then it did work. I'd buy something, I'd sell it, I'd trade, I'd try and find ways to make money. Even as a kid, I'd had numerous jobs. So since I think I was 9 or 10 when I had, delivering papers. Then at 12, I was the man collecting the paper delivery money. Then when I was 16, I started working at a service station. Then I joined the army. So I've been employed since I was about 10, and I've always been hungry for more, super hungry. And building wealth over time, I was quite conservative until I met the Tates. I didn't really spend much. I didn't have any fancy cars. I had 1 or 2 watches. And the full focus was saving and building for a long, long time. Since I met the Tates, I realized that money has to flow. And I, for example, young men can use their money to get into certain circles which will give them access to make more money. For example, you buy yourself a supercar in Dubai, you join a well-respected supercar club, there's going to be a lot of wealthy people there. They'll have property developments that you can jump in. They'll have ICOs, IPOs, various investment vehicles. So you can spend money to access circles where you can then make money. And that worked very well for me. I help ultra-high net worth individuals solve problems in the realms of security, investigations, crisis management. Getting access to those circles required me to spend money. That's something Tate taught me. You've got to spend money to make money. So that's where my wealth has really accelerated, by getting access to the elite of society and finding ways to add value to them, and then either get paid by them or access their investment products. So that's been my road to wealth. At first it was all about working hard. Now it's about where I invest. And alhamdulillah, I've had some very, very successful investments over the last few years, which have taken me to that financial independence status where even as a guy with a poor kid mind, I now cannot worry about money. Like, I can't. So it's an interesting new place to be in. I've been there for the last couple of years. And it's a real relief to not have to worry about money. All my life I was worried about money. And now I don't have to worry, and I can focus on more meaningful things.
So would you say, like, after you kind of lost attachment to the money, you actually made more money?
100%. It's the way the world works. I don't know why. Maybe Islam has an answer to that. When you're really trying to save and force the money out of the system, it's a very inferior approach to when you're not worried about money and you're approaching your work because you love it, and you're taking healthy risk with your investments. That's where the returns are. Not being that guy who's really tight-fisted with his money.
That's wonderful. Do you mind if I share something with you? There was actually something one of my, I would say, I think an elder taught me when I was young, but I didn't understand it till I was older. He told me, the more and more you chase the world, the more and more it runs away from you. As soon as you chase your creator, the creator will bring the world to your feet.
Interesting. Of course, Islam has an answer. That's amazing. It's true. Again, this is an example. I figured that out maybe 10 years ago. You really chase women in an unhealthy way, you won't get quality women. You really chase money, you get
Great point.
Trying to force it, you're not going to make big money. You might make money, but not big money. But when you get to that state where you release the attachment of it and you're doing it in a healthy manner, and you have that mindset of abundance, that's where the abundance comes. And of course, Islam has that written 1400 years ago. One thing I'd love to say about money and wealth.
Yes, brother.
Look, I'm on Instagram, I put cars, watches, whatever. Take them all away from me tomorrow, I genuinely don't care. I might be a bit stung because I put some work into modifying them. I'd be like, oh, that's a pity. And one day I'll sell all my watches, I'll sell all my cars, I'll go back to, I'm going to retire, simple. I don't need to live like this. I think people who view things like cars and watches as an achievement, they fundamentally don't understand that money is one of the weakest and most overvalued forms of wealth. Because you can inherit money, you can win money, you can steal money. All these guys with these nice cars, they can get a car loan. Their daddy can buy it for them. There's no achievement there. It can be a nice way to reward yourself after a certain amount of work. But the idea that men are chasing cars and watches as if that's the ultimate form of value, money is not value, value is value. Now, and let's talk about what value is for a man who's seen through money, if you will. To me, health has to be number one, because without health, you're no good to yourself or your family or society. I put brotherhood very close behind health. Back in the day, we understood the men you have next to you going out to hunt, to fight. They were your brothers. There's a World War I veteran? Yeah, and that was trench warfare, very brutal. He said, I think he was the last surviving World War I veteran, he said, people nowadays don't understand the love we had as brothers. You fought with the man next to you. You died with the man next to you. We loved each other more than a man has ever loved a woman. I think it's very beautiful. And the idea that brotherhood is such a powerful form of wealth. But I think that's been forgotten nowadays, because men aren't going out. I mean, it exists in the military in certain circles. And I believe it exists in certain religious circles. But I think brotherhood is such an important form of wealth that if young men understood what I understand as a 40-year-old, they wouldn't just be chasing money, they'd be pursuing brotherhood. Absolutely key. And from there, it's other forms of wealth that are superior to money. For me, healthy, happy kids. Man, I've been through experiences where all the money in the world couldn't save my kids. I've been through that. Not something I want to talk to, but you realize that money has its limits. Your family being healthy, that is more important than money. So we've got health, we've got brotherhood, we've got the health and fulfillment of your family. I think time is another one. I know a lot of ultra high net worth individuals who don't have any time. What's the point? Again, money has limits. Having that geographical freedom, the ability to, all right, I want to go on a lad's trip and drive, through the south of France for 2 weeks. A lot of people with all the money in the world, they can't do that sort of stuff. They don't have time. And the other form of value that I think young men would do well to reflect on is having a supportive, respectful, giving woman next to them. Mm-hmm. So key. I know so many ultra high net worth individuals who do not have a supportive woman next to them. As a result, their daily reality is ruined. Mm-hmm. You can have all the toys and all the luxury holidays. If the woman in your life is ungrateful, if she has no respect, no loyalty, your life is terrible. So again, everyone's chasing that money. Why not chase the other things that I just mentioned? Because that's what leads to a fulfilling daily reality. I know a lot of people with a bunch of cash who don't have those other ingredients, they aren't fulfilled. I know a lot of people who have medium level cash. Yes, you need to get wealthy to look, you need money to look after your family, but they have the brotherhood right, they have the timepiece right, they have their health right, they have a giving woman next to them. They are a lot more wealthy overall as people than guys who've just chased that cash and nothing else.
Interesting. And would you almost argue that nowadays money isn't real? Because we're not dealing with gold and silver, which we call God's money. Now we're dealing with this monopoly money. Yeah. So couldn't you argue that we're chasing things that are not even real?
I mean, money nowadays is the new form of slavery, right? You put people in debt. You print money. There's going to be a lot of money. Inflation. I mean, obviously we don't need to go too deep into it, but money is the new form of slavery, and it is not real. It's created by governments who can print as much as they like whenever they see fit. So I think it's a tool that you need to master as part of being a man who has a custom-made reality and lives a fulfilling reality. But anyone who prioritizes money over those forms of wealth which are more meaningful, they're not going to have a good life. It's an abstract construct that, yes, it's a tool you need to master, but if you make Allah your God, if you make money your God, which is obviously shirk, mm-hmm. but a lot of people do, your life is going to be very lacking. Very lacking. I know so many people, I call them money nerds. Mm-hmm. All they've done is chase money, mm-hmm. and you can see, I would not swap my life for that. I know billionaires, mm-hmm. actual verified billionaires. I would not replace my life. I would not exchange my life for theirs, because they've only excelled in one area, and in all the other areas of life they're lacking. They're poor in all the areas that matter. And that's the other thing, man. Like, once you cross 5 million US net worth, it doesn't really change. You can afford business class. You can buy some silly toys. For me, the difference, okay, yes, you need to get to a level of wealth where you're able to look after your family and enjoy your life. But beyond that, do you really need to work your ass off for more? I'd much rather put time into healthy relationships, into my brothers, into adventures around the world with my brothers.
And our children.
Yeah, exactly. Leaving a healthy impact on society, giving to charities. These things all are much more fulfilling than just getting more and more and more money.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, then all we'll do is kind of chase an endless black hole of desires.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think chasing money can be a form of hedonism, because it's very easy. You can chart your growth. You can see on the screen, oh, I've done well this month. This number's gone up, but there's no substance there, man. After a certain point, yes, get your money right. Look after your family. Look after the people you love, about the causes But beyond that, focus on more fulfilling things. That's what I've learned in terms of my human experience.
Absolutely, and I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you, my brother. So, you mentioned, was that your first job that you were mentioning earlier with
delivering papers was the first job.
Okay.
I remember I had this crappy little bike and I strapped some kind of milk carton on the back of it. The military gave me a lot of very specialist skills as well. So I had a lot of fortune growing up, even if as a kid I was very unhappy and the house I grew up in was a very volatile and essentially unhealthy, toxic place. I still had some very strong advantages growing up. I'm naturally very intelligent, good with people. I was in Australia, a first world country, so I've worked hard, but I also had a lot of factors that helped me achieve this success I've achieved.
Wonderful. And then, what would you say is the worst job that you ever had to partake in?
Wow, interesting. Worst job that I can talk about?
Yeah. Yes, that you can talk about, yes.
I'd say, look, being an infantry soldier, especially when it's in the jungle, which is my first tour overseas was East Timor. Jungle warfare is very hard on the body. It was very fulfilling, had great brothers around me, it was good, meaningful work. But in terms of the physical challenge, operating in the jungle is very taxing. At one point, I was weighing 94 kilos at the time. I was a gunner, and my load was 63 kilos. So that's you want to talk about carrying that, and you carry it on your back for 2 weeks, get resupplied by a helicopter. The physical demands of doing jungle warfare properly, that's probably the hardest job. Wouldn't say it's the worst, but it's the hardest. Worst jobs, I can't really talk about. Without trying to sound mysterious, it'd be unprofessional.
Okay, no problem, my brother. And did you predict your success growing up?
I always knew that I could achieve more than my current surroundings, and I was always focused on doing so. So in a way, I knew that I would achieve this, and I knew I wouldn't accept anything else. You need to be a bit obsessive about chasing success as a young man, and I was. I knew, and I didn't get that. I had 0 successful role models growing up, 0. To this day, I support my family because they still can't really support themselves. To me, if you have that hunger as a young man, you'll find the right role models, because you can't build this by yourself, right? So even though my youth didn't have any role models, even in the army, I didn't really see any really successful people. I then got out of the army and went into circles where I started to interact with very wealthy people, and I saw what's needed, because anyone who thinks they're going to become successful by themselves, that it's a joke. You're not going to. You need mentors, you need brothers around you, you need people operating on a certain frequency to help you lift your frequency up. So I went out and found the people who had that same level of hunger, and I built myself up with their support and with their insights and their guidance. You can't do it by yourself.
It's interesting that you said that you can't do it by yourself. There's an old saying out there that you need a village to raise children. And would you say that you need a brotherhood in order to create the custom reality that you want for yourself?
I like that a lot, brother. I might actually steal that one and use that.
I'm going to make sure I'll copyright it then.
Exactly. We'll give you a monthly commission every time I use it. But for me, that's why I so strongly believe in the war room. We've got a collection of thousands of men worldwide who are all operating on that frequency. That I know I can do better. I know I can work harder. I know I can put more effort into the training, into the adventures around the world, into building businesses. Finding high quality men is difficult, and the war room is almost like a filter for men. The men, especially those who are respected within the war room, they are the best men I've ever met, consistently. I'd love you to consider it at some point, bro.
I actually am possibly considering it.
Excellent. Yeah. Let's talk, man. Let's discuss it, because there's a lot of Muslims inside, by the way, a lot of brothers, because it's built on similar values, very traditional values. A man should protect, he should provide, he should every day work his hardest to make the right decisions. The war room has masculine accountability, and it's also a flex positive environment. You should show receipts is something we do. And people get kicked out all the time. If someone's not performing and not leveling up in the various areas of their life, and it's all systemized, then they get kicked out. Every week people are getting kicked out.
Accountability.
Yeah, it's real. So having that global community of high frequency, high output men who are pushing to excel in all areas of life, man, the war room is something else. I love it. I'm going to Asia soon for a business trip. I've got a bodyguard task to do. After that, I'm going to go to Bangkok, not because I love Bangkok, because there's so many solid war room guys there, so many quality guys. Last time I was there, we had a dinner, 30, 40 men rocked up.
Wow.
Each one of them pushing with their fitness, looking to create positive relationships with men and women, hustling with their work, specialists, young guys hustling. And so I'm literally going back to a city just because of the quality of brothers that we have there. And the War Room has that all around the world. I'm so genuinely grateful for that community. And we've got to give respect to Tate. He created it. He created a space where men are allowed to be men and are encouraged to be that embodiment of masculine achievement every day. It's so powerful, man.
Shout out to the Top G. Shout out to the Top G. Yes, sir.
I actually have a Top G exclusive. I don't know if you want to drop that now.
I think we could, however you want to do it. If you want to do it now, let's do it.
This is 100% direct and hasn't been shared by anyone because no one knows. They will after this. So after the Three Muslims podcast, the guys were saying, there was curiosity as to whether Tate is reading the Quran. There's one man on Tate's team who speaks to Tate every day. Mm-hmm. A few weeks back I said, can you ask Tate when you get a chance on your phone calls if he's reading the Quran? I got the answer back yesterday from this individual. Tate's direct response to the question, are you reading the Quran, was, I'm not reading it, I'm studying it, and I'm studying it every day.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Allahu Akbar, man.
And also the other thing is, some of the quotes from the Quran that he puts on his Twitter are from other people's suggestions, but a whole lot are him choosing himself. Such as the quote that says, just because you're a believer, that doesn't mean Allah won't test you. Tate found that himself in the Quran, and he put it on his Twitter. So it's real, man. He's committing, he's studying it every day. Made me so happy to hear that.
That's so beautiful. It's crazy that you said that, because anytime I'm going through certain difficulties, right, and I see a Quran there in my room, right, on my shelf, and I grab it, I open it to any page, I say Bismillah, that means in the name of the Almighty, Most Merciful Creator, and boom, pops up, and I look at a verse, right, that wherever my eye lays on, and it's always something that is what I need to hear at that moment. So it kind of reminds me of, with Tate, how he found that verse, and based on the difficulties that he's going through in his life,
It's amazing. So 100% confirmation. Tate is studying the Quran every day. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. May Allah bless him, and may Allah bless him for eternity, and his future family, his children, and their children as well, inshallah. Inshallah. Another question I want to ask is, what do you enjoy the most about what you do? Now, actually, before we talk about that, let's say if people are interested in joining the War Room, is that something you want to talk about, how people could join?
100%. So there's a price point to enter. I believe it's £5,000, and that's a filter to make sure that people are going to take it seriously. Tate does not view the War Room as a money-making thing. From the outset, it's been, how do we find the sort of brothers that we want? Because it was just the two of them. They understood the importance of brotherhood, because they live together. There's no women that live in their house. They live together, which I think is amazing, and they push each other constantly. So they were like, well, where are the other brothers who are on the same frequency as us, or at least trying to be? So that's why they formed the War Room. I can say, with the insight that I have genuinely, they don't even view it as a money thing. However, there is a price point to enter, again, as a filter for people who are...
And I think that's absolutely excellent, because I believe a lot of these groups, because they're so necessarily cheap, you get very low quality individuals, and it kind of destroys the whole network, of what you want to build,
100%.
Especially if you want to demand excellence from yourself, you want to be around excellence as well.
100%. And another indicator that's not about the money, the second somebody comes in and they don't fit, they'll get kicked out and they'll get refunded. If they're looking to make money, they wouldn't do that. But I think 2 or 3 times over the last few years, the War Room has been cut in half. They cut out half of the people, because it's that strong as to, no, we want the right men in here.
Quality over quantity.
100%. And the process, you can just sign up on the website. I think it's better if you discuss with somebody first to see whether it's right for you. So I'm committed to responding to everyone on Instagram who writes War Room and then has their question. I'm not going to do it immediately. I'm a busy guy, but I'll respond to everyone, and from there I can put you in touch with somebody who can onboard you. But you need to be coming with energy, because there is a demand that you show your receipts. And it doesn't matter where you're starting. We've got guys who are 18 and broke. We've got men who are in their 60s and are multi-millionaires. We've got doctors and lawyers and dentists, and incredibly successful software developers. We've got everything you can name in there. Doesn't matter where you are, you have to show progress. And if you don't show that you're leveling up in the various areas of life, then you'll be given support, you'll be questioned. But if you're not showing increased receipts, you get kicked out. So you have to perform. So I'd say to people, if they're looking to join out of curiosity or because they want a good network, the underlying energy that you should bring to joining the War Room is that you're ready to absolutely attack life with brothers who are doing the same. That's what it's about. And when you get together with a group of men who are all in that frequency, wow, it's powerful, man. You get 30, 40 War Room guys in the room, that's an electric room. You got a bunch of specialists who are absolutely dominating in all areas of life. Where else are you going to find that? There's a lot of business networking groups out there, but they don't talk about masculinity. They don't talk about fitness. They don't demand that you go out and create a custom-made reality. They just talk about money. Money is one thing that we talk about. Now, we're living well. We're all doing well, especially with the global network that you have. Any country in the world, you can get, with the contacts, you can get pretty much anything you want in terms of business, in terms of getting yourself set up with the residencies, not having local fixers who can help you access good deals on the property market, how to set up your businesses properly in any country. The War Room can be an enabler for business success, but don't join it just for that. Join it because you're ready to absolutely attack life and dominate in all spheres. That's what we stand for. Backed by traditional values, backed by masculine accountability, backed by showing receipts. I love it. I really believe in it. So if anyone has questions, they can write to me on Instagram. Just start with War Room so I can then see that you have a question there.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you know what they say, or I don't know who said it first, but your network is your net worth, right?
There it is, man.
Yeah.
100%. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. In the military, I had brotherhood. Outside of the military, because I was working so much, traveling so much, I didn't really have brotherhood. Thanks to the War Room, I have men, thousands of men around the world, who I would like to sit down and have a chat with, and it's not work. It's not, I don't have to force. I have brothers who I respect all around the world. The top performers in the War Room, the men who are well respected in the War Room, are the sort of men you want around you. Reliable men, capable men, specialists, pushing for that daily excellence. The War Room is essentially a very powerful filter for men, and I don't know of anything that even comes close anywhere in the world. I love it. I'm so grateful for it, man. And again, props to Tate for creating this.
Hey, you might see me in there soon. Inshallah, brother.
Great, man.
Yes, sir. And then, so what do you enjoy the most about what you do now?
Okay, so for me, I work a lot. I need to find a way to work less because I don't get enough sleep, and health issues come up if you don't sleep. It's a thing. You can push with the mind as much as you want. If you don't get enough sleep, your body will start to complain, and that happens. So I love my work, but I need to find a way to do it less, if that makes sense. And what's the point of having all these toys if you don't use them?
Absolutely.
So all I do is work, train, and even when I'm spending time with my brothers, we're talking about work. I've got a nice TV. I have numerous TVs. I've got a PlayStation. I can tell you, hand on heart, I've not sat and watched a full episode of television probably a year. I haven't sat and played video games in such a long period of time because every waking hour is focused on work. Now, a lot of that at the moment is supporting the Tates, obviously. I also have, the businesses that I run and the work that I do, which I find very meaningful. I also try and support and mentor a lot of men within War Room. I give a significant amount of time to the men in the War Room, adding the value that I can. So, yeah, to answer your question, my reality is work, and I love it. I just need to find a way to get more sleep while still... It's tricky. As a man, when you've found a way to take 1 hour of your time and create a positive impact on your brothers, or take 1 hour of your time and turn it into a significant amount of money, it's hard to sleep, bro. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm wrestling with now. I love my work to the point where it's difficult to not work, and you got to look after your health, man. You have to do.
Hey, there's a lot of fruits of the labor, right?
Yeah, man. It's working, man. Alhamdulillah.
Yes, sir. Alhamdulillah. All praise to the Most High, right? And what are your goals and priorities in life, my dear brother?
Mm-hmm. So at the moment, it's Islam and learning as much as I can. I'm carving out at least an hour a day. I get to the masjid at least once a day. I try to go more than once.
Wonderful.
So the priority is learning. I've realized there's a lot of power here that I didn't fully understand. Now that I've got a taste for it, I want more. Everything I read about Islam, I want to read more. There's a fire in me because I understand the power here. This is a lot more than what I thought a religion was. This is a system with which to get the most out of the human experience and to give back the most to humanity. So that's honestly, man, I would love to be able to retire from work and just study the Quran, adventures with my brothers, play chess, go to the gym. That would be enough for me.
Wow.
But I have meaningful...
That's a wonderful life.
That'd be great. That's the goal. But I have a very meaningful work, which I love doing. But my priority is learning about Islam. That's number one. It's all work related. I think when Tate is out, then I'll relax a bit.
Inshallah.
Then inshallah I'll be able to just say, you know what, I'm not going to work so much. I'm going to spend more time reading and discussing Islam. I'm going to spend more time with my brothers, just enjoying the toys, enjoying the fruits. But need to get Tate out, man. Can't rest until that happens.
Absolutely. Free the top G. And please, all my dear brothers and sisters, please, anytime you guys are praying, be sure to pray for the Tate brothers as well. Very important. Pray for them and pray for their families, okay? You know, it doesn't harm you to add that within your prayers. If anything, it will just be more of a blessing for you. Because the more you care about your fellow creation, your fellow man, the more Allah will bless you and reward you for that as well. So just, you know, make sure, guys, please keep our brother in your prayers. The stuff that he's going through right now, he needs our prayers and he needs us. So we should be there for him, especially as our Muslim brother. And what advice do you have for the younger generation for building wealth and finances?
I think the main thing is you need to find a niche of some sort. So you need to specialize. That's what I did in the military. I specialized very early. And then just work harder than everyone else. Don't get caught up on passions yes, ideally your work is an expression of who you are. Ideally you enjoy it. But man, what you're passionate about, if it doesn't add value to society, it's not going to make you a bunch of money. Yeah, I would love to be, for example, a professional video game player. Video games are fun. But one, I suck at it because I could never afford them growing up. And two, I have other ways I can add value. Like, what I'm trying to say here is a lot of young men, they only want to do what they're passionate about. No. Find a specialist role that you're naturally good at and you get some enjoyment from. You don't have to love it, just some enjoyment, and then work harder than everyone else. But you've got to specialize at something you're naturally good at that adds value to society, and then just put in the time. I will work 20-hour days regularly. That's 2.5 normal working days with the level of wealth and success I have. If men really want to build wealth, have you watched TV in the last year? Do you play video games? Do you sit around and just talk nonsense with your boys? Then you're not working hard enough. So specialize in a niche that you're naturally good at that adds value to society and work harder than everyone else. The wealth will come, especially if you've got the right brothers around you. Getting money is not that hard. If you work like a demon and you've got a specialist qualification or experience that adds value to society and you've got the right men around you, the money comes. I'd also say it takes time. It's hard to hit real money unless you're in some sort of crypto space until you're mid to late 30s. When you're a younger man, you should be focusing on building the foundation with which to then be the guy in his late 30s who starts to hit it big. That's the path that I've seen in life. A lot of guys want that money now. You're building the foundation now for the money to come later. I'd love to tell you a story here.
Yes.
One of my mentors years ago, when I was working in Iran, so back 12 years ago plus, he said to me, you young guys, you're so hungry for that money. You got to understand that the work that you're putting in now, you're getting underpaid for. But when you're my age, he was in his 50s, you get overpaid. He said, I make big money, huge money he made, from a couple of hours a day. So I'm getting massively overpaid now. But all those years where I was getting underpaid is what I built, where I built the experience and the capabilities to then be such a specialist that I demand a really high hourly rate effectively by doing not too much work. So that's one thing young men need to learn. For 10 years, for 15 years, you'll be being underpaid. But then when you become the man with those specialist experience, capabilities, network, then you're going to get massively overpaid. So you get paid for your efforts later in life once you've built that foundation. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you touched on that because a lot of men, I guess, they're chasing their passions, but your passion should just be making money.
Yeah.
Right?
I'd say add value.
Yeah.
Create opportunities to add value and the money will follow.
Yeah.
I don't think you should really just chase the money. You should chase, how can I add value to society? What's missing? What am I naturally good at that I can add value to? And then the money will come. And yeah, to your point, like some guys, I just want to be a personal trainer because I enjoy it. I love going to the gym too. I'd love to be a personal trainer. Imagine going to the gym every day. but that's not what I'm naturally best at in order to add value to society. So yeah, it's. I think men of today are being led down a bit of a strange path in terms of success because they see all these guys with Lambos, they see all the fancy stuff. Does anyone say to them, you're going to have to work 20 hours a day for 15 years with the right type of brothers around you, with that endless hunger to succeed, then you can give yourself a couple of Lambos. Like all these guys that want Lambos and fancy stuff in their 20s, man, I didn't even see a Rolex watch till my late 20s. I didn't physically even see one. And now I have a collection of who knows how many pieces. The young men of today need to know there's decades of hustle and decades of working as hard as you can every day before you'll hit it. No one's telling them that, before you really reach serious levels of success.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. I'm glad you shared that with us. And I see you have a fleet of supercars, right? Which is very beautiful. MashaAllah, Allah Mubarak. May Allah give you more, right? What was your first car?
Oh, wow. It was a Mazda 323 that I built out of like scrap panels. It was a gift from the family. It was worth about $500 at the time, which isn't much even now. And I had to take it to a scrapyard and build it up. It was 1.3 liters of weak engine, but I loved it, man. I felt like the man. I put a little stereo in it. I was the man, and that's why I think it doesn't matter what level you're at. If you're leveling up, that's the magic. Mm-hmm. I went from being a guy who had a crappy bike to having a crappy car, but wow, I felt like such an operator because I'd leveled up in life. And I think that's super important. So to the young guys, I'd say, who are chasing those supercars, chase progress, daily progress of any kind. That's what you want to be looking for. Unfortunately, the Ferrari's not here. That's the magic, man. That's a wild car. Just doing a little bit more work to it.
Absolutely.
Done. But yeah, the one thing I'll say about cars, please come in, brother. I'll introduce you to my brother shortly.
How you doing, sir?
Hey, all right, it's good now. The watch warlord, how are you, man? Can everything on camera?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, cool.
We're good people, of course.
Appreciate it. Let's do that in a sec. The one thing I'll say about cars and these sorts of things, if you're attached to anything material, then you've got the wrong energy behind it. Genuinely, you could take all my watches, all my cars, whatever away today. I'm still me. I still have value. You know, possessions and money, that's not value. I have brotherhood. I have the capability to build it up again. I have a very clear value. I have a very strong faith. Take away the material possessions. I genuinely wouldn't care. Unless you have that sort of approach to toys, then you're not living your life right. And Tate's the same. Man, I'll tell you a quick story. We were in Montenegro and we got a flat tire on the Bugatti. That's a €5 million car. We went into this little, this hasn't been told before, so Tate would be okay with it.
Exclusive.
Yeah, we went into a little garage, and we needed to pick the car up in order to take the wheel off. And it's the Bugatti's carbon fiber tub, right? And so we didn't know where to lift it up, and we had a car guy with us, a friend of mine, Kevin. He's actually dropping around today. He knows cars really well. He's a very technical guy. He said, when you crank up that jack and you lift the Bugatti, if it's not in the right place, you can crack the carbon fiber tub, €5 million. Tate's like, I don't care, just do it. Mm-hmm. You sure, bro? He's like, just do it, I don't care. Mm-hmm. And then, when we couldn't change it all, we had to put it on a truck and drive it. The truck that rocked up to move a €5 million car was a VW Golf with one of those little trailers on the back that you'd use to carry like a motorbike. Uh-huh. And I'm like, bro, you're going to put a €5 million car on this little flat trailer. He's like, I don't care, do it. Mm-hmm. Tate genuinely doesn't care about a €5 million Bugatti. That's the mindset you need to have. Yes, win. Yes, get your cars, get your money right, but don't get attached to it because it's ultimately meaningless.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Another question I wanted to ask you, right, is when you bought, when you bought your first car, did you imagine that you were going to end up having a fleet of supercars after that?
I don't think I did, man. And again, I don't actually view it as that big a deal, to be honest, bro. I don't view the cars as an achievement. They're fun, and they're rewards I've given myself when I've hit certain business wins or certain levels of wealth. But I'm not attached to them. I don't view them as a big part of who I am. It's just fun. I don't view it as that impressive, to be honest. I know a bunch of people who inherited money and bought cars. Big deal. I don't view them as impressive. What I do like, though, are watches. And our man has something special. So can I introduce you by name?
Yeah, of course.
This is Shahab, also known as the Watch Warlord. He's the go-to guy for the war room when it comes to watches. Mm-hmm. Shahab and I have been, he educated me on watches. I bought, how many watches from you, bro, in total?
Maybe over 3-4 million.
Yeah, a lot of watches. So and the relationship I have with this man is one of brotherhood. I trust him as much as I trust anyone in the world because he's so ethical. And so when you join the war room, you get access to this man and his watch sourcing capabilities.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Brother, what do we got today?
So this is the watch you asked for.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man. Excuse me.
I was actually wearing your gold sky dweller, but I didn't want to bring it up because maybe you'd get.
I'd miss
a
it,
bit-
man.
yeah, you'd miss
I
it.
love that watch so much. Selling my gold watches hurt, man. I could take away the cars, but I wouldn't care. Taking away the watches hurt a bit. Ah, beautiful. Thank you.
Oh wow, that's
Thank you.
beautiful.
So a friend of mine, Warham guy,
Uh-huh.
Aaron, he bought the blue version of this 2 days ago. So I
Wow.
said I need it in green.
Wow.
So it's a lot of fun.
Oh, beautiful guys. Look at this beautiful piece right here.
So the magic on this, one, it's green, which I like, and I'm replacing one of the watches I sold was the olive dial day date because it's gold, and obviously gold is haram. nice watch, bro. But it's,
I'm working on it. I'm working on it,
I
guys.
needed some more gold. I understand. I needed some more gold watches. Sorry, green watches. And this one came. And the magic in this is that the way the face has that pattern to it. It's that's 2022 model, right? It's a new one for 2022.
Yeah, but this is a 2023, but
Okay.
I believe this was released in 22.
Sultan. Thank you so much. So yeah, beautiful. And it is halal. I mean, look, there's a bit of white gold on this, to be fair. I actually talked to Sheikh about this, and he said, look, if it's just a small part, it's okay. So the discussion is this a small part, the bezel? I don't know.
Much smaller than that, I see.
Let's not talk about that.
Okay, we're gonna fix you.
Okay, cool. A gift
can-
for you, brother. Amazing. There you go.
Small gift, small, and not same as yours, but just small gift.
Shout out to 3 Kicks.
Hey,
Amazing.
thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother.
It's very kind of you, man. Appreciate it.
Wow, this is beautiful, my brother. Thank you so much.
This is the Moon Swatch.
Oh,
It was
wow.
a collab between Omega and Swatch, and actually this broke the internet when this was released. It shut down the mall. People were
yeah.
This is for me?
yes. Yeah.
Wow, man.
Probably
class
more
act,
difficult to get than this one.
They're really
Wow.
watches. Can I see? I've never actually seen
Absolutely, my brother. Absolutely.
One for you as well, Shooter.
I'll take it happily, bro.
Yeah, I have a really special one for you as well.
Amazing, my brother. Man, can we make the watch game halal today? brother?
You know what? Just for our brother Shooter, I'm gonna have to take this one off. You know what I'm saying?
This is a halal house.
This is a halal household. You know what I mean? Thank you, my brother. You see, look, he's already making me better. He's already making me a better man, dude.
That's an awesome watch. It really is.
From our friends at 3 Kicks.
3 Kicks.
Yes.
Shout out to 3 Kicks.
Yeah.
They're still in City Walk. Amazing shop, man. Run by a 16-year-old now. He started when he was 14. What a hustler. What a fantastic. That's why we took Tate to talk to them.
Yeah.
3 Kicks in City Walk. Check it out. They have the best shoes, watches, everything.
I'm
Really.
actually in his store and I'm messaging him and he's in class and he's telling me, okay, go there. He's like doing some, after.
Amazing. He's
Yeah.
still in school, but he's running a successful business. What an absolute gangster.
May Allah bless her. May Allah bless her, brother.
Support from his family as well. It's a beautiful story. Amazing.
Hey, man, we're officially halal now, guys. We're officially halal. It is beautiful, man. Thank you so much, my brother. May the Almighty bless you, my brother. I appreciate you so much. This was definitely a surprise, guys. It's definitely a surprise. I did not see this coming.
Very
Truly,
funny.
these are probably more difficult to get than.
They're so sought after, those watches. It's wild. Incredibly sought after. Man, come on now. That works.
How you guys like it, guys? You guys like it? That's what I'm talking about, man.
Fantastic, my brother.
Alhamdulillah,
Can we
alhamdulillah.
pause so I can pay the man?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay, so you wanted a day in the life of? It's always dynamic. There's always lots of things going on.
Yes, sir.
So right now, this is Erdem. He's hands down the best breeder of Dobermans in the world. I bought a puppy from him. I've also flown him over to help with the training. And part of his product, his service, is the best quality Dobermans on the planet. The man, I mean, the way you do it is incredible, man. This is his life. He's an absolute master in his field. But also, the service he provides is very high-end. You can message him anytime, help with the dog, help with the import process, everything. So we're going to get some luxury footage here in Dubai for his Instagram, so the world can see that both the product and the service is a very luxury offering. That's the intent here. And he looks good too, so that helps.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to be.
So should we get some good footage then?
Yeah.
Choose the car, man, whatever you want. They're all yours.
Thank you so much.
All right, cool. Let's do
Thank
it.
you so much. Thank you so much. One.
All right, brother. Let's show you Porsche horsepower.
Let's do
It's
it.
different to other horsepower. So the beautiful thing about the 911, it's been basically the same car, the same shape for decades. And the Germans, they've just refined it bit by bit to make it incredible. Anyone who's a real racer, anyone who's really into cars, they'll appreciate the mechanical perfection of Porsche above any other type of car. And you're about to find out why.
I'm looking forward to this, my brother. I'm looking forward to this.
Let's do it. The other thing is, big guys like us actually fit in this car. Look at this. Yeah, they're incredible, man. Porsche's the best, really. You can't argue with it. Especially now that she's louder with the aftermarket. Make sure you get, I reckon hold it there so you get yourself.
Okay.
Because your reaction is the magic here, not me. Not me. So we'll do launch control in the Turbo S.
Okay.
It's pretty heavily modified. I
Okay.
won't talk through all the geeky stuff because it'll get boring.
Okay.
But you tell me what you think, man.
All right.
Good luck trying to hold that
Oh,
camera there.
man.
So this is the stock Turbo S is 0 to 102.8.
Okay.
And this is heavily modified.
Okay.
So let's do it, man.
Let's do it.
I think they need to go first.
Yeah, actually, hold on. Let's take a look at the inside real quick. Look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. I must say, my brother Shooter, you have style.
Thank you, bro.
You have exquisite style, my brother. I must commend you on that, my brother.
Thank you, brother.
Commend you on that.
I try, man. I try.
You definitely have style, my brother. Definitely have style.
Let's get ready to launch, bro.
Let's get ready, man. Let's get ready, bro. I'm gonna be holding on tight, bro.
You should.
Guys, pray for me, guys. Pray for me.
Okay, here we go,
All right,
man.
ready, set. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Bro, like, I'm yet to get bored of that. It's so much fun.
Oh my God.
What do you think, man?
I love it, bro. I love it, man. Holding on to the camera, bro. I'm glad you warned me, bro. I'm glad you warned me, bro. Oh my God. I literally felt like I was on a roller coaster, bro.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's a roller coaster for grown-ups.
Yes. This is a real life video game, guys. Real life video games.
And that's an interesting thing. Like people want to do what? They want to fight, they want to shoot, they want to race cars in video games.
Yeah.
Do it in real life.
Do it in real life.
Develop these skills. And I'll say, owning cars is fun. Learning how to drive cars is really well is more fun. Owning weapons is fun. Knowing how to run a gun like a professional is more satisfying. I think people should pursue skills development and excellence, as Tate would say, professionalism in all these masculine pursuits, rather than just owning stuff. I know a bunch of guys who own high-end cars. They don't even know how to drive them, or if they do, they're too afraid to push them. You should be seeking professionalism over material possessions. You should be seeking capability over stuff. I really believe in that.
That's amazing.
It's good
That's
fun.
absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I love the fact that you brought that up. Like, why play video games when you could do it in reality?
That's it, man.
You could push these cars in reality. Instead of playing the UFC game, go in the gym, train, and you'll be so much more excited when you are capable of doing these punches, these kicks that you actually used to control another character doing.
Exactly.
Why not control your own life?
In a way, in the same way that porn is watching other people have sex, I think video games is like watching someone else do it.
Yeah.
Do it yourself.
Do it yourself.
Scrap all that nonsense. Get out and win in the real world. That's what I like to say. And if you do reject things like porn, video games, you're going to have X amount of extra hours in your day. That's the other thing people don't realize. Not only are they sacrificing their own, or putting their own excellence aside and doing it in a virtual manner, those hours could be spent on skills development to become the man. I really don't understand why so many people live their realities secondhand through screens. It's such a waste of time. That time can be money.
100%.
That time can be skills development. I think, and that's something Tate speaks about very well. Young men of today should be angry at their situation, and they should use every waking hour to improve their situation. That's what Tate did, and we'll talk about that more.
Absolutely.
Tate, all he does is work. That he wakes up angry because he hasn't conquered enough during that day, and I think that's why he's so popular, right? He's showing young men it's okay to be angry. It's okay to not be content. It's okay to every moment of every day want more. The magic is acting on that, not just sitting there wishing. Get out there and actually act on that hunger for more. And I mean, Tate helped me with that. When I was around Tate at first, I'd be exhausted trying to keep up with him because he's just on such a high frequency. Now I'm on the same frequency. I work constantly. I train every day. I'm pushing for masculine excellence in all the related skills. Every man wants to drive and shoot and do things in the bedroom we don't need to talk about. So go and learn how to do those things well. It's so much more fulfilling than doing it through porn or through video games and basically seeing other people do well. I'd put the same as people who are fanatical about spectator sports. If you love football, go play football.
Absolutely.
Why are you watching someone else do it?
Absolutely.
I really don't understand it. It's like you're outsourcing your manlyhood to strangers. Do it yourself.
Absolutely.
I really believe that.
And the satisfaction they'll have in their lives by doing it themselves instead of watching someone else do it will be astronomical.
That's it, brother. That's it. You ready for some more speed?
Let's do it. Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
This car is terrifying, man. Like it's a lot of fun. Okay, here we go, bro.
Great.
Oh yeah, we got some empty roll, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Woo! Let's go. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Woo!
She's fun.
I love it.
The Germans, man, they know how to build a car.
I know, huh?
Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
That's all, brother. Cheers.
Oh man.
So, brothers, there's free-flowing steak in this house. Something I always say. That's the moment I realized I was doing all right was when I could always have steak in my house. Because growing up, I never had red meat. I never ate red meat until I was even in like 20s. As a kid, never. We never afforded this in the house. Wow. Whereas now that there's free-flowing red meat whenever we want, that's when I feel rich. So please, anytime you're here, guys, the steak is free-flowing. It just magically appears whenever we want it.
That's so beautiful, man. But just to see how life has changed for you in such a positive way over the years, I'm honestly very, very happy for you, man. I'm truly, truly happy for you. And I wish this type of success and this type of glow from all the other human beings as well. You know, we really need to spread this and help other people achieve this as well. Because look, like you said, that there's many people who are suffering. You haven't had steak till your 20s.
No.
A lot of other people are suffering like that as well.
Yeah, it's real. It really is real. It's amazing. The first time I had access to steak was when I joined the army, and I didn't really like it because I'd never touched it before. Well, it's funny you say that. When I pray, I never ask for anything for myself every day. I'm always praying, giving thanks, and obviously for the Tate brothers and for the people I care about. But one of the other things I say by default is, for those who aren't blessed the way we are, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pick them up so that they can enjoy those benefits as well. Because man, thank you, bro. We are so blessed, man. And anyone living in Dubai, living well, anyone living well in the West, if on a daily basis they aren't grateful for what they've got, they don't know the world. Because if you know the world, I've been to 90 countries, 89, most of those are emerging market countries. If you've seen the way the majority of humanity is living, as someone in the West, you have to be grateful, man. We are so blessed. I won't say it offends me because I'm not some liberal snowflake. It angers me that a lot of Westerners aren't conscious of how blessed they are. And they're going to get, I'm depressed, I'm not motivated. Go, travel to Sudan, see how people, travel to Yemen, see how people are living. Anyone in the West, anyone who's sitting, eating well, anyone who's not hungry should be, I call it like aggressively grateful every day. I really believe in that.
You know, it's crazy that you mentioned that because I noticed a difference, you know, from traveling as well. Poor people in the Western world compared to poor people in these rural countries. For some reason, the poor people in these rural countries still have beautiful smiles on their faces, even though they have so much less than these people in the Western world. What do you think that is?
I think because they usually have faith. I really believe that. I think if you're suffering, as with the Tates now in prison, faith gives you a huge boost and ability to stay positive and stay grateful for the human experience. Whereas if you're in a faithless country like the West, and then you're poor, that's miserable. If you are poor without any sort of connection to God, that is a miserable existence. There it is.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Bon appetit, brother. Enjoy.